I always believed the worst decisions in life happened when two things came together: a little too much alcohol and the confidence that nothing bad could happen. My name is Ethan. I'm in my 20s, just an ordinary guy trying to build a decent life. I don't have a billionaire family behind me. I don't have a powerful last name. I'm not the kind of person people notice when I walk into a room. At least that's what I thought until the night I kissed the most feared woman in the city. It started with my friend Noah's birthday. "Ethan, you're not leaving early tonight," Noah said, blocking my way as I grabbed my jacket. I looked at him. "You say that every year, because every year you disappear before anything interesting happens. I like leaving before things become interesting." Noah laughed. "That's exactly why you're boring." I rolled my eyes. "I have work tomorrow. It's Friday." "I know." "Then stop acting like you're 60. I laughed despite myself. Noah had always been like that. He was the kind of guy who could convince a stranger to become his best friend within 5 minutes. I was the opposite. I preferred quiet nights, simple conversations, and avoiding unnecessary drama. Unfortunately, that night, drama was looking for me. The party was being held at one of the most exclusive private clubs in New York. I had never been there before, and honestly, I felt like I didn't belong. Everyone around me wore expensive suits and designer watches. People talked about companies, investments, and deals worth more money than I would probably see in my lifetime. No one noticed me looking around. "Relax," he said. "Nobody here cares about you." "Thanks. That's comforting." "I mean it in a good way." "There's a good way to say that." He laughed. Then his expression suddenly changed. "Wait." I followed his eyes. "What?" He lowered his voice. "She's here." "Who?" Noah looked at me like I was completely clueless. "Elena Rossi." The name immediately caught my attention. Even I knew that name. Everyone did. Elena Rossi wasn't just wealthy. She was powerful. The Moretti family had been one of the most influential families in the city for decades. People whispered about them because nobody wanted to say too much out loud. And Elena was the person everyone feared most. The heir. The woman who took over major parts of her family's empire before she was 30. The woman who could destroy someone's career with a phone call. I looked toward the entrance. A woman walked in wearing a simple black dress. No unnecessary jewelry. No attempt to impress anyone. She didn't need to. The entire room changed the moment she arrived. People stopped talking. Executives who had been laughing seconds earlier suddenly stood straighter. Everyone wanted her attention. But Elena didn't look interested in anyone. She looked completely untouchable. Noah leaned closer. "Whatever you do, don't talk to her." I smiled. "Why would I?" "Because you have a terrible habit." "What habit?" "You think everyone is just a normal person?" I shrugged. "Maybe they are." Noah shook his head. "Ethan, that woman is not normal." I didn't answer. But for some reason, I kept looking at her. Not because she was beautiful. She was. But that wasn't what caught my attention. It was her expression. Everyone around her was trying to impress her. Everyone was afraid of saying the wrong thing. But she looked tired. Not bored. Tired. Like she had spent years being surrounded by people who wanted something from her. I don't know why, but that bothered me. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was because I wasn't thinking clearly. Either way, I ended up walking toward her. I didn't even realize I was doing it until I was standing in front of her. A few people nearby immediately noticed. One man looked at me like I had just signed my own death certificate. Elena looked at me. Her eyes were sharp, cold. "Can I help you?" Her voice was calm. Too calm. I probably should have walked away. A smart person would have. Instead, I smiled. You look like you're having a worse time than everyone else here. For a second, nobody spoke. I heard someone behind me whisper, "Did he really just say that?" Elena stared at me. Most people would have apologized. I didn't. Maybe because I was drunk. Maybe because something about her made me forget who she was. "You know who I am?" she asked. "Yes. And you still came over?" "Yes." A small smile appeared on her lips. "Why?" I thought about it. Then I answered honestly. "Because everyone here looks at you like you're dangerous." Her eyebrow lifted. "And you don't?" I shook my head. "No. Why not?" I looked at her. "Because dangerous people usually don't look this lonely." The people around us went silent. I immediately realized I might have gone too far. But instead of getting angry, Elena did something I never expected. She laughed. Not a polite laugh. A real one. The kind that seemed impossible for someone like her. "You're either incredibly brave," she said, "or incredibly stupid. Probably both." That made her smile again. And that was the last clear moment I remembered. The rest was a blur. I remembered talking. I remembered drinking more. I remembered Elena sitting beside me instead of walking away. And then I made the biggest mistake of my life. Or maybe the best decision. I looked at her. She looked back at me, and before my brain could stop me, I leaned forward and kissed her. The entire room froze. Someone dropped a glass. Someone whispered my name like they were warning me. I pulled away almost immediately. My heart started racing. What did I just do? For the first time that night, I was completely sober because I finally understood. I had just kissed Elena Moretti, the woman everyone feared, the woman nobody dared to touch. I waited for anger, for security guards, for someone to drag me away. But nothing happened. Elena just looked at me. Then something unbelievable happened. She smiled. Not an angry smile. Not a threatening smile. A soft smile. Like she had been waiting for this moment. "Ethan," she said quietly. I froze. I had never told her my name. "How do you know my name?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer. Then she whispered, "I've been waiting for that." I stared at her. "What?" Her eyes stayed on mine. The kiss. My confusion grew. Why? For the first time, the most feared woman in the city looked nervous, almost human. "Because I was starting to think you would never do it." That was the moment I realized something. This wasn't a random mistake. Elena Moretti knew me. She had been watching me. And somehow my drunken mistake was something she had been waiting for. I just didn't know why. I woke up the next morning with two problems. The first problem was the headache. The second problem was remembering exactly why I had that headache. I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling for a few seconds. Then the memory came back. The party, the alcohol, Elena Rossi, and the kiss. I immediately sat up. No way. I covered my face with both hands. What did I do? I had kissed the most dangerous woman in New York. Not some random person. Not someone who would laugh it off and move on. Valentino Moretti, the woman whose name made powerful people nervous. My phone started ringing. I looked at the screen. "Noah," I answered. Before I could say anything, he shouted, "Are you alive?" I frowned. "Good morning to you, too, Ethan. Do you understand what you did last night?" I stayed silent. That was enough of an answer. Noah sighed. "You actually don't remember everything, do you?" I remember enough. No, you don't. I sat up straighter. What does that mean? There was a pause. Then Noah lowered his voice. After you kissed her, everyone thought you were finished. Finished? Yes. That's dramatic. No. Ethan, you don't understand. Noah sounded serious. People don't just walk up to Elena Moretti and do whatever they want. I apologized. You apologized? Yes. And she smiled. The silence on the other end was immediate. Exactly. What? Ethan. That's the problem. I frowned. Why? Because nobody knows what that smile means. I stared at my phone. What are you talking about? Noah took a breath. Elena doesn't smile at people. That's impossible. I'm serious. Her own employees say they can count the number of times she genuinely smiled in public. I leaned back. That doesn't make sense. Neither does what happened last night. Before I could answer, my apartment doorbell rang. I looked toward the door. I have to go. Wait. Ethan. I hung up. I walked to the door carefully. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, my entire body froze. A man in a dark suit stood there. Behind him were two more people, and beside them was Elena. She wasn't wearing the intimidating expression I had seen at the party. She looked calm, almost relaxed. Good morning, Ethan. I stared at her. How do you know where I live? She looked at me for a moment, then smiled slightly. That's your first question. What should my first question be? Maybe why am here? I crossed my arms. Fine. Why are you here? Elena looked at the man behind her. Wait outside. They immediately obeyed. That surprised me. Not because they listened, because of how quickly they listened. When the door closed, I looked back at her. You came here alone? Yes. Why? She stepped inside. Because we need to talk. I laughed nervously about last night. Yes. I looked away. Look, I was drunk. I know. And I shouldn't have done that. Why? I looked back at her. Because you're Elena Rossi. She tilted her head in, and because people like you don't usually get kissed by people like me. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she walked closer. People like me. I realized I had chosen the wrong words. I mean, no. Her voice was softer. Tell me. I looked at her. You're powerful. You're surrounded by people who protect you. Everyone wants something from you. And you? I hesitated. I didn't know who you were at first. That made her smile. Exactly. I frowned. What? That's why I liked you. I stared at her. You don't even know me. Elena looked directly into my eyes. Yes, I do. The confidence in her voice bothered me. What does that mean? She reached into her bag and placed something on my table. A folder. I looked at it. What is this? Open it. I hesitated. Then I opened the folder. Inside were printed articles, photos, information about me. My stomach tightened. What is this? Your life? I looked at her. Why do you have this? Elena stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then she answered. Because I've known who you are for almost a year. I froze. A year? Yes. Why? She looked down. Briefly. That was the first time I saw something different in her expression. Not fear. Not anger. Something closer to embarrassment. Because you helped my younger brother. I frowned. What? Last year outside the subway station. My memory slowly returned. A rainy night. A young man who had collapsed. Everyone walked past him. But I stopped. I called an ambulance. I stayed until help arrived. I never thought about it again. That was your brother? Elena nodded. He survived because someone stopped. I shrugged. Anyone would have done the same. No. Her answer was immediate. Most people walked away. I didn't know what to say. She continued. You didn't know who he was. You didn't know my family. You didn't know if helping him would bring trouble. She looked at me. You helped anyway. I looked away. That doesn't explain why you've been watching me. Valentino was silent. Then she said something I never expected. Because I wanted to know if someone like you was real. I looked at her. What? Everyone around me wants my money, my power, my position. Her voice became quieter. But you treated me like a person before you knew my name. I didn't know how to respond. For the first time, I saw the woman behind the reputation. Not the Mafia Heiress. Not the person everyone feared. Just Elena. A woman who was tired of being treated like a weapon. Then my phone suddenly rang. I looked at the screen. Unknown number. I answered. A cold voice spoke. Ethan. Yes. You need to stay away from Valentino. Moretti. My expression changed. Who is this? The person ignored my question. You have no idea what you stepped into. The call ended. I slowly lowered my phone. Elena immediately noticed. Who was that? I don't know. Her expression changed. The softness disappeared. The dangerous Elena returned. What did they say? I looked at her. They told me to stay away from you. For a few seconds, she said nothing. Then she walked toward the window. That was faster than I expected. I frowned. What does that mean? She turned back to me. It means they know about you now. Who? Her eyes met mine. My family's enemies. I felt my chest tighten. Wait. I pointed between us. So, because I kissed you, someone is threatening me. Elena looked at me. No. She paused. Because I care about you. I froze. That answer scared me more than the threat. Because I suddenly realized something. The kiss wasn't the dangerous part. The dangerous part was that Elena Moretti had chosen me. And everyone who hated her now had a reason to come after me. I always believed powerful people had one thing in common. They never showed fear. But after meeting Elena Moretti, I realized I was wrong. The most dangerous people weren't those who never felt afraid. They were the ones who had every reason to be afraid and still stood their ground. The problem was I wasn't like her. I wasn't prepared for this world. I wasn't trained to deal with threats. I was just Ethan, a normal guy who made one reckless decision after drinking too much. Except, now that decision had changed everything. 3 days after the warning call, I was sitting across from Elena in her office. Not a normal office. Her office. The kind of place where everyone who walked in already knew who was in charge. I looked around and shook my head. This is insane. Elena looked up from her documents. What is everything? She raised an eyebrow. That's not very specific. I kissed you 3 nights ago and now am sitting in the middle of a building owned by one of the most powerful families in the country. She smiled slightly. You make it sound dramatic. It is dramatic. You're exaggerating. I laughed. Elena, your security team has more people than my entire workplace. That's because your workplace doesn't have people trying to hurt you? I became quiet. She noticed. I'm sorry. I looked at her. For what? For bringing you into this. That surprised me because I expected anything from Elena. Confidence, coldness, control, but not an apology. You didn't bring me into anything, I said. She looked at me. I did, no. I shook my head. I walked toward you for a moment. She didn't respond. Then she smiled. That's what scares me about you. What? You don't understand how dangerous you are. I laughed. Me dangerous? Yes. That's probably the funniest thing you've ever said. Valentino leaned back. No one in my world talks to me the way you do. Because they're scared. Yes. And not. She looked at me. No. I wanted to disagree. But I couldn't because she was right. I wasn't fearless. I was terrified. But something about Elena made me forget that everyone else saw her as untouchable. I saw someone who needed someone honest around her. And maybe that was why I stayed. Unfortunately, not everyone liked my decision. That became obvious later that afternoon. Elena brought me to a family meeting. I immediately knew I didn't belong. The moment I entered the room, every person looked at me. Not curious, judging. An older man sitting at the end of the table looked at Elena. Is this a joke? His voice was cold. Elena didn't even blink. No. The man looked at me. You brought him here? Yes. Why? Elena answered. Simply because he matters to me. The room went silent. I felt every eye turned toward me. The man laughed. This, he pointed at me. This is who you're risking everything for. I clenched my jaw. I didn't like his tone. Elena noticed. Watch your words. The man looked at her. Why? Because the outsider has your protection now. He doesn't need my protection. That made everyone look surprised. Elena continued. He has my respect. The man smiled. That's worse. I frowned. What does that mean? He looked at me. It means you don't understand what you've become. I stared at him. And what exactly have I become? He leaned forward. A weakness. The word hit harder than I expected. Not because I believed him, because I knew why he said it. Everyone in that room saw me as the thing that could destroy Elena, the thing that could make her careless, the thing that could make her vulnerable. I looked at Elena for the first time. I wondered if they were right. Later that night, I found her alone. You should let me go. She looked up immediately. What? I stood there. You heard them. Her expression hardened. Don't do this. Do what? Decide for me? I sighed. Elena, I'm not from your world. I know. Then why are you acting like this is easy? It isn't exactly. She stood up. You think leaving will protect me? I think it protects you. No. Her voice became sharper. It protects you. I stayed silent because she was right. I wasn't trying to save her. I was scared. Scared that one day my existence would be used against her. Valentino walked closer. You know what everyone sees when they look at me. I didn't answer. They see power. She looked away. They see money, fear, control. Then she looked back at me. But nobody asks if I'm tired. I said nothing. Do you know how many people have stood beside me? Probably a lot. No. Her voice became quieter. 0. That answer surprised me. Everyone around me works for me. They obey me. They fear me. She looked at me. But you? What about me? You argue with me. I smiled slightly. Someone has to. She laughed softly. And for a moment, the dangerous mafia eyes disappeared. You have no idea how rare that is. Before I could respond, the door suddenly opened. One of her guards walked in. His expression was serious. Ms. Moretti. Elena immediately changed. What happened? The guard looked at me. Then, back at her. We found the person who made the call. My stomach tightened. Who was it? The guard hesitated. Then said, someone inside the family. Elena's face became cold. A betrayal from her own people. And suddenly, I understood something. I wasn't just a stranger who kissed a dangerous woman. I was now the reason someone inside the Moretti family was willing to start a war. Elena looked at me. Ethan. Yes. Stay close to Me. I frowned. Why? Her eyes were serious. Because the person coming after me doesn't want you gone. She paused. They want you dead. For the first time since I met her, I saw something in Elena's eyes. Not fear for herself, fear for me. The first thing I learned about Elena Rossi's world was simple. Everyone had a plan. Everyone had an angle. Everyone wanted something. The second thing I learned was that nobody expected anything from me. And, honestly, I understood why. I wasn't a fighter. I wasn't a businessman with years of experience. I wasn't someone who could walk into a room and make people nervous just by saying my name. I was Ethan, the guy who accidentally kissed the most feared woman in the city because he had too many drinks and too little common sense. But what people didn't understand was one thing: being underestimated could be an advantage, especially when everyone thought you were harmless. After the threat against me, Elena refused to let me leave alone. At first, I hated it. Not because I didn't appreciate her concern, because I didn't want to become someone she had to protect. You're assigning guards to follow me now? I asked. Elena didn't even look up from her laptop. Yes. I stared at her. Seriously? Yes. I'm going to work. I know. I'm going to buy coffee. I know. I'm not going to suddenly disappear into a dangerous situation. She finally looked at me. Ethan. What? You walked into a private room full of criminals and kissed me. I opened my mouth, then closed it. That was different. How? I was drunk. That makes it worse. I couldn't argue with that. She smiled slightly. I'm keeping you safe. I sighed. And what if I don't want to be protected? Her expression changed. Not angry, just serious. Then, don't be protected. I frowned. What? Stand beside me. Those words caught me off guard. She continued. I don't need someone hiding behind me. She walked closer. I need someone who chooses to stand next to me. For some reason, that meant more than I expected because Elena wasn't asking me to become someone else. She wasn't asking me to become powerful. She just wanted me to stay. But staying meant accepting something. My life had changed and there was no going back. 2 days later, I learned exactly how serious the situation was. Elena invited me to a meeting with several of her family's executives. I knew immediately why. She wanted them to see me, not as a weakness, as someone she chose. The moment we entered the room, conversation stopped. A man named Alexander stood near the table. He was one of Elena's oldest advisors. He looked at me and smiled. Not a friendly smile, a mocking one. So, this is him. Elena's expression hardened. Alexander. What? He looked at me. I'm just curious about what? He laughed. How someone like him became important enough to stand here. I stayed quiet. Elena stepped forward. He's here because I invited him. Alexander nodded. Exactly my point. The room became tense. I could feel everyone waiting for me to react, waiting for me to prove them right. That I was just an outsider, that I didn't belong. Alexander looked at me. Do you even understand what happens in this room? I answered calmly. No. A few people smiled. They thought I admitted weakness. But I continued. And neither do you. The room went silent. Alexander smile disappeared. What did you say? I looked at him. You asked if I understand what happens here. I shrugged. I don't. Then I pointed around the room. But I understand something you don't. Nobody moved. You're all so focused on power that you forgot the reason you need it. Alexander narrowed his eyes. And what Reason is that? People. Silence. I continued. You talk about protecting the family. You talk about loyalty. But the second someone chooses happiness over tradition, you call them weak. I looked at Elena. She built everything you have. My voice became firmer. And instead of asking why she trusts someone, you're asking why she isn't afraid. Nobody spoke. Because they weren't expecting that. Neither was I. I wasn't trying to impress them. I was just tired. Tired of everyone treating Elena like she wasn't human. Alexander stared at me. You think a few words make you one of us? No. That answer surprised him. I don't want to be one of you. I looked at Elena. I just want her to be able to choose. For a moment, nobody said anything. Then Elena smiled. A real smile. The same smile from the night we met. After the meeting, she walked beside me. You surprised them. I surprised myself. She laughed. You were nervous, terrified. Really? Yes. She looked at me. You didn't look afraid. I was. Then why did you speak? I thought about it. Then answered honestly because everyone in that room was looking at you like you were a weapon. I paused and I hated it. Elena stopped walking. Ethan. I looked at her. What? She looked away for a moment. Then quietly said, you have no idea what you do to me. I smiled. Is that a good thing? She looked back at me. Yes. Before I could answer, her phone rang. She checked the screen. Her expression immediately changed. What happened? She listened. Then her face became colder. What do you mean missing? My smile disappeared. Elena. She ended the call. For several seconds, she said nothing. What happened? She looked at me. It's my brother. The one you told me about. She nodded. He disappeared. My stomach tightened. Was it the same people? Elena didn't answer. She didn't need to. I already knew. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was an attack. And this time they weren't coming after me. They were coming after the one person Elena Rossi cared about. She looked at me. Ethan, you need to leave. I shook my head. No. Her eyes narrowed. You don't understand. I understand. Enough. This is dangerous. I know. You could get hurt. I looked at her. So, could you? She froze because nobody talked to her like that. Nobody reminded her that she was also someone worth protecting. I stepped closer. I'm not leaving you. For the first time, Elena looked completely speechless. Then she whispered, you really have no idea what you just signed up for. I nodded. Maybe not. I looked at her. But I know who I signed up for. And that was the moment everything changed. Because I wasn't just the guy who kissed Elena Rossi. I became the person who chose to stand beside her. Even when the entire world told me to run. I used to think the most dangerous moment in life was when someone threatened you. I was wrong. The most dangerous moment was when someone you cared about decided to fight for you. Because once they made that choice, there was no turning back. After Elena's brother disappeared, everything inside the Moretti family changed. The relaxed confidence I had seen before disappeared. People stopped pretending everything was under control. Phones rang constantly. Meetings started happening behind closed doors. Security doubled. And every person who looked at me had the same expression. They blamed me. I knew it. I could feel it. To them, I was the reason Elena had become distracted. The reason enemies had found a new target. The reason their perfect, untouchable heir had started making emotional decisions. And honestly, a small part of me wondered if they were right. That night, I found Elena alone in her office. She was staring at documents on her desk. But I could tell. She wasn't reading them. You haven't slept. She didn't look up. Neither have you. That's because your security team keeps checking on me every hour. A small smile appeared on her face. Good. I walked closer. You think that's funny? Yes. Your brother is missing. Her smile disappeared. I know. And you're sitting here pretending everything is fine. Not pretending. Then what are you doing? She finally looked at me, trying not to fall apart. That answer caught me off guard because it was the first time Elena admitted she couldn't handle something. I sat down across from her. You don't have to be strong every second. Her expression changed. You don't understand. Then explain it. She was quiet. Then she said, if I show weakness, people take advantage. Everyone? Yes. I shook my head. Not everyone. She looked at me. You? I smiled slightly. Exactly. For a few seconds, she just stared at me. Then her phone rang. She answered immediately. What? Her expression became colder with every second. I'll be there. She ended the call. What happened? A family meeting about your brother? No. She looked at me. About you? My stomach tightened. The Moretti family meeting was different from the first one. This time everyone was angry. The moment Elena entered with me beside her, the room exploded. You brought him here. He needs to leave. This has gone too far. I looked around. These weren't strangers. These were people who had worked with Elena for years. People who claimed to respect her. But now they were demanding she abandon the person she cared about. An older woman sitting at the table stood up. Her name was Isabella Rossi, Elena's aunt. The person many believed controlled the family before Elena took over. She looked at me. You are the reason this happened. I didn't answer. Elena did. No. Isabella looked at her. You would defend him? Yes. He is an outsider. He is my choice. The room went silent. Isabella stared at her. You are willing to risk everything for him. Elena didn't hesitate. Yes. Those 3 letters changed the entire room. Because everyone expected hesitation. Everyone expected logic. Everyone expected Elena to choose the family. But she didn't. Isabella's face hardened. Then you are not ready to lead this family. Elena remained calm. Because I chose someone. Because you let emotions control you. I watched Elena carefully. I expected her to get angry. Instead, she smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that warned people they had crossed a line. For years, everyone told me I was too cold. Nobody spoke. They said I didn't care about anyone. She looked around the room. They said I was a machine. Then she looked at me. And now that I finally care about someone, suddenly I'm weak. Silence. She continued. No. Her voice became stronger. You just don't know how to handle the fact that I made a choice without asking permission. Nobody interrupted. Not even Isabella. Elena stepped closer to me. Then she did something nobody expected. She took my hand in front of everyone. I choose Ethan. The room froze. I felt every person watching. But Elena didn't let go. I choose him because he sees me as a person. She looked directly at her family. Not a title. Not an inheritance. Not a weapon. A long silence followed. Then Isabella spoke quietly. You would throw away your position for him? Elena answered immediately. If keeping my position means losing myself, then yes. I looked at her. I had heard people talk about love. I had heard people make promises. But I had never seen someone sacrifice power for another person. Not like this. After the meeting, I stopped Elena in the Hallway. Why did you do that? She looked confused. Do what? Risk everything. She looked at me. Because you would have done the same. I laughed. No. I wouldn't. Yes. You would. You don't know that. She stepped closer. I do. Her voice softened. Because that's who you are. I looked away. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. Elena shook her head. You're not. Then what am I? She smiled. The reason I finally understand what I'm fighting for. Before I could answer, one of her guards rushed toward us. His face was serious. Ms. Moretti. Elena immediately turned. We found your brother. My heart jumped. Is he okay? The guard hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Elena's expression changed. Tell me, he's alive. She exhaled. But the guard looked at me, then back at her. They want a trade. A trade for what? The guard's answer made the hallway go silent. They want Ethan. I felt the blood drain from my face. Elena immediately stepped in front of me. No, the guard continued. They said they'll exchange your brother. He paused for the man you chose. Elena's eyes turned cold. The same eyes everyone feared. But this time, I knew something. She wasn't angry because they threatened her. She was angry because they threatened me. And that was when I realized the truth. The most feared woman in the city wasn't afraid of losing power. She was afraid of losing me. The first thing I said after hearing their demand was simple. No. Elena looked at me immediately. No. I nodded. No. Her expression hardened. Ethan, this isn't a discussion. Yes. It is. She stepped closer. You don't understand what's happening. I understand perfectly. No, you don't. Her voice became sharper. They have your name. They know who you are. They know you matter to me. I looked at her. That's exactly why I'm going. Her eyes changed. Not anger. Pain. No. I had never heard Elena say that word like that before. Not as an order. As a request. I'm not letting you trade yourself for my brother. I looked at her. And am not letting you lose your family because of me. You are not responsible for this. Maybe not. I paused. But am still part of it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Valentino walked away. That scared me. More than if she had yelled because Elena Rossi never walked away from anything. A few hours later, I found out something I never expected. Elena had been hiding something from me. I was in her private office when I noticed a locked drawer slightly open. I wasn't trying to look through her things. I wasn't trying to invade her privacy. But something caught my attention. A photo. My photo. I pulled it out and froze. It was me. Not a recent picture. A picture from almost a year ago. The same day I helped her brother. I looked through the drawer. There were more articles, notes, pictures, my old volunteer work, a charity event I attended, even a picture of me helping an old man carry groceries. I stared at everything. What is this? I didn't notice Elena enter. Ethan. I turned around. Her expression changed the moment she saw what I was holding. You weren't supposed to find those. I looked at her. How long? She was silent. How long have you known me? Elena didn't answer immediately. Then she said, almost a year. I laughed quietly. Not because it was funny, because I didn't know how else to react. A year? Yes. And you never told me? I tried. When? She looked away several times. I shook my head. No. You don't get to say that. She looked back at me. Why not? Because you walked into my life like this was some random moment. I held up the photos. But you already knew everything about me. Her expression softened. I knew things about you. That's not the same. No. She stepped closer. It isn't. Then why? That was the question I needed answered. Why would someone like Elena Rossi spend a year watching someone like me? She took a breath. Because I wanted to know if I was wrong. I frowned. Wrong. About what? About you? I stayed quiet. Elena looked down at the pictures. When I first heard about you, I thought it was impossible. What was that? Someone could help a stranger without expecting anything. She smiled sadly. In my world, every favor has a price. I understood. People helped her because they wanted money, power, connections. Nobody did something kind without wanting something back. Then I found out you were real. I looked at her. You watched me because you were curious at first and later. She was quiet. Then she answered. Later I wanted to see you again. My heart skipped slightly. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid. That surprised me. You? Yes. The woman everyone fears. She smiled faintly. Yes. She sat down. Do you know what happens when someone in my position cares about someone? I didn't answer. They become a target. She looked at me. I knew that if I got close to you, your life would change. And yet, you still came to me. Yes. Why? Her eyes met mine. Because I was tired of pretending I didn't want something normal. Those words hit harder than I expected. Because for the first time, I realized something. Valentino wasn't chasing me because she wanted to control my life. She was chasing the one thing she never had: a normal connection. Later that night, we prepared for the exchange. But something felt wrong. Too easy. The enemy wanted me. They wanted Elena to choose. But they didn't understand one thing. They underestimated me again. Before we left, Elena stopped me. Ethan. I turned. She looked serious. If something happens. No. She frowned. Listen. No. Ethan. I shook my head. I'm not letting you say goodbye. Her expression softened. You are impossible. I've heard that before. A small smile appeared. Then she reached into her pocket. She pulled out something small. A bracelet. I looked at it. What is this? My brother gave it to me when we were kids. I looked at her. Why are you giving it to me? Because I need you to come back. I smiled. I will. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Why? I looked at her. Because I still owe you an answer. She blinked. An answer. I nodded to something. What? I smiled. The kiss for the first time in days. Elena laughed. A real laugh. You're thinking about that now? Yes. You're unbelievable. Maybe. I stepped closer. But I meant it. Her smile faded. What? That night? I looked at her. I thought it was a mistake. A pause. But maybe it wasn't. For a moment, Elena didn't say anything. Then she whispered, Ethan. Before she could finish, the light suddenly went out. The entire building fell silent. A second later, alarm started. One of her guards rushed in. Ms. Moretti. Elena turned. What happened? The guard looked terrified. They found our location. My heart sank. How? The guard hesitated. Then said, There's a traitor inside. Elena's expression changed. Who? The guard looked directly at me and said, The person who gave them information was someone close to you. The room went cold. Because everyone understood what that meant. The enemy wasn't outside. They were already inside. And the person who betrayed Elena was someone she trusted. I used to think betrayal was something obvious. A person yelling. A person attacking. A person standing in front of you and admitting they were your enemy. I was wrong. The worst betrayals came from the people who stood beside you, the people you trusted, the people you never thought you had to question. That night, after the alarm went off, Elena changed completely. The woman who had laughed with me disappeared. The woman everyone feared returned, locked down the building. Her voice was calm, too calm. The guards immediately moved. Nobody questioned her. Nobody hesitated. I watched her give orders, and for a moment, I understood why people followed her. Not because they were scared, because they believed she knew what she was doing. But I also noticed something else. Her hands were slightly shaking, only for a second. Most people would have missed it. I didn't. Elena. She looked at me. What? You're scared? Her expression immediately hardened. No. Yes. I'm not. You are. She stared at me. You shouldn't be able to tell. I smiled slightly. You forget something. What? I know you. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then, her expression softened. Just slightly. That's exactly why I'm worried. Because I know you. Because you care. I frowned. What does that mean? It means you'll run toward danger if someone you care about is there. I looked at her and you wouldn't. She didn't answer because she knew I was right. The search for the traitor began immediately. Every person in Elena's inner circle was questioned. Every security record was checked. Every communication log was reviewed. But the more they investigated, the worse it became. The person who betrayed her wasn't a random employee. It was someone who had access to everything. Someone who knew her plans. Someone who knew about me. Finally, Alexander walked into the room. The same man who had called me a weakness. He looked serious. Elena. She turned. What did you find? Alexander glanced at me, then back at her. We found the leak. The room became silent. Who? Alexander hesitated. That hesitation immediately bothered me. Say it. He took a breath. It was Victor. Elena froze. Victor, her closest security advisor, the person who had protected her for years. No. Alexander looked at her. I'm sorry. No. Her voice became colder. Check again. We did. You're wrong. Alexander shook his head. We found the evidence. Elena looked away. For the first time, she looked lost. And I understood why. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was someone she trusted. Someone she considered family. I stepped closer. Elena. She didn't respond. Look at me. Slowly. She did. He chose to betray you. Her eyes were cold. I should have known. No. Yes. Her voice cracked slightly. I should have seen it. I shook my head. You can't blame yourself for someone else's choice. She looked at me. You don't understand. Then explain. She was quiet. Then she said, I built my entire life believing trust was dangerous. She looked around the room. And the one time I trusted someone, her eyes moved to me. I was afraid it would end exactly like this. I understood. Then the betrayal didn't hurt because Victor was a traitor. It hurt because it proved every fear she had been fighting. Victor was captured 2 hours later. When he was brought in, I expected anger. I expected excuses. Instead, he looked calm. Too calm. Elena stood in front of him. Why? Victor smiled. You really want to know? Yes. Because you changed. Her expression didn't move. Explain. You were never weak before. He looked at me. Then he came. I clenched my jaw. Victor continued. You started making decisions based on feelings. Elena's eyes became colder. You betrayed me because of that. I protected the family. No. Her Voice was sharp. You protected yourself. Victor laughed. You think he loves you? The room went silent. I looked at Elena. Victor continued. He doesn't belong here. You don't know me. I know. Enough. He looked at me. You're temporary. Before I could answer, Elena stepped forward. No. Everyone looked at her. Her voice was calm but powerful. He is not temporary. Victor froze. Elena continued. You made the same mistake everyone else made. What mistake? You looked at him and saw someone weak. She looked at me. But you never bothered to see who he really was. I didn't expect those words because, honestly, I was still trying to figure that out myself. After Victor was taken away, Elena stayed quiet. Too quiet. I found her later that night. You okay? She looked at me. No. The honesty surprised me. I thought you would say yes. I'm tired of saying yes. I walked closer. You don't have to pretend with me. She smiled sadly. That's what scares me. What? That with you? I don't want to pretend. I didn't know what to say. So I just stayed beside her. After a few moments, she spoke. You should leave. After this, I immediately looked at her. What? You heard me. No. Ethan. No. Her eyes narrowed. You're not listening. I am. Then why aren't you leaving? Because. The answer was simple. Because leaving felt wrong. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being about a kiss. It stopped being about curiosity. It became about her. In staying, she looked at me. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. You could lose everything. I smiled. I don't have $1 billion empire to lose. That's not funny. I know. I looked at her. But you do. She stayed silent. And you were willing to lose it for me. Her eyes softened. That's different. No. I shook my head. It's exactly the same. For the first time, Elena had no argument. Then, her phone rang. She answered. Her expression changed immediately. What? Pause. Then, are you sure? She looked at me and I knew something was wrong. What happened? She slowly lowered the phone. Someone found my brother. I exhaled. That's good, right? She didn't answer. Elena? Her eyes met mine. They don't want to trade anymore. My stomach tightened. What do they want? She stepped closer. They want me to choose. Choose what? Her voice became quiet. Between my family. Pause and you. I stared at her because I finally understood. This was never about money. Never about power. They didn't want to destroy Elena's empire. They wanted to destroy her heart. And now, they were forcing the most feared woman in the city to make the one choice she never wanted to make. I always thought the hardest decisions were the ones where you had two bad choices. I was wrong. The hardest decisions were the ones where you finally had something worth losing. For Elena, that thing was me. And I hated that because I knew what it meant. The woman who had spent her entire life building an empire was now being forced to choose between her family and the person she had just started to love. And somehow, I had become the center of a war I never wanted. The message was simple. Bring Ethan to the old warehouse near the harbor. Come alone. Your brother goes free. Refuse and you lose everything. When Elena finished reading the message, she placed the phone on the table. No emotion. No reaction. That scared me more than anger. Elena. She didn't answer. Look at me. Slowly. She did. And I saw it. She was already planning. Not a rescue. Not an attack. A sacrifice. You're going there. It wasn't a question. She stayed silent. You're going alone. Yes. I shook my head. No. Her expression hardened. This isn't your decision. It is. No. Ethan. She stepped closer. This is my responsibility and I'm part of it. You're not. I looked at her. That's not true. Her eyes softened. You shouldn't have to be. That sentence hurt more than I expected because I knew what she meant. She wasn't saying I wasn't important. She was saying I was too important. She wanted to protect me the same way I wanted to protect her. And that was the problem. We were both willing to lose ourselves for the other. I found out later that Elena had already made arrangements. If anything happened to her, control of the Moretti family would be transferred. Her brother would be protected. Her employees would be taken care of. Everything was prepared. Everything except one thing. Me. She never planned for me to survive this. When I found the documents, I walked straight into her office. You planned this? Elena looked up. Her face changed when she saw the papers in my hand. Ethan. No. I put them on the desk. You were going to sacrifice yourself. Her silence answered me. You weren't going to tell me. I didn't want you to stop me. Of course you didn't. My voice became quieter because you knew I would. She looked away. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "This is what I do." What? I protect the people I care about. I shook my head. No. She looked at me. You protect everyone except yourself. That hit her because it was true. Elena Moretti had spent her entire life carrying everyone else, but nobody had ever carried her until me. The night of the exchange arrived. Elena thought she was going alone. She was wrong. When she arrived at the warehouse, she saw me standing there. Her expression changed immediately. What are you doing here? I smiled. Nice to see you, too. This isn't funny. I know. Ethan. Leave. No. Her eyes narrowed. You never listen. No. Despite everything. She almost smiled. You're impossible. You knew that when you kissed me back. That made her pause. Because we both remembered the night everything started. The night I thought I made a mistake. The night she said she had been waiting. Then a voice interrupted us. Well, a man stepped out from the shadows. Now, this is interesting. His name was Vincent Moretti, Elena's cousin, the person behind everything. I immediately understood. This wasn't about revenge. This was about power. He wanted Elena broken. Vincent smiled. You really came. Elena stepped forward. Where is my brother? Safe. Let him go. Vincent laughed. You still think you're in control? He looked at me. Look at him. I stayed silent. Vincent smiled. The reason you're weak. Before Elena could answer, I spoke. You're wrong. Everyone looked at me. Vincent raised an eyebrow. You? Yes. I stepped forward. You think she's weak because she cares about someone? I shook my head. That's the difference between you and her. Vincent's smile disappeared. You have no idea what you're talking about. No. I looked at him. I understand perfectly. I glanced at Elena. You built an empire by making people fear you. Then I looked back at Vincent. But she built loyalty. The silence that followed was heavy because everyone knew the truth. Vincent had power. But Elena had people. And that was something money couldn't buy. The final confrontation happened fast. Vincent's own people turned against him. Not because Elena threatened them. Because they believed in her. The same people who once thought I was her weakness stood beside us. Because they finally understood. I wasn't the person who made her weak. I was the person who reminded her why she was fighting. When it was over, Elena's brother was safe. Vincent was arrested, and the Moretti family finally accepted something they had refused to see. Elena was not losing control. She was becoming stronger. A week later, I found Elena sitting on the balcony of her apartment. For once, she wasn't working. No meetings, no calls, no pressure. Just her. You're quiet. She looked at me. Thinking dangerous. She smiled. You're still joking after everything? Yes. Why? I shrugged. Because someone has to remind you that you're still human. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, Do you regret it? I knew what she meant. The kiss. The night. Everything changed. I smiled. No. Even after everything. No. She looked down. I was afraid you would. I walked closer. Elena. She looked at me. The truth. Yes. I think that was the best mistake I ever made. A small smile appeared on her face. Your mistake? Yes. She shook her head. You still don't understand what? She stepped closer. That night wasn't your mistake. I looked at her. It wasn't. No. Her voice became softer. It was the first time someone finally chose me without wanting something from me. I didn't say anything because I understood. The most feared woman in the city didn't need someone to save her. She needed someone who saw her. Someone who stayed. Someone who chose her. And somehow that person became me. Months later, people still talked about the night Ethan, an ordinary guy, kissed Elena Rossi. They called it reckless. They called it impossible. They called it a mistake. But they were wrong. Because that kiss didn't destroy my life. It changed it. I didn't win a battle against the mafia. I didn't become the most powerful man in the city. I got something much rarer. I became the only person in the world who could make Elena Rossi smile. And every time she looked at me and said, I've been waiting for you, I knew one thing. Some mistakes are not mistakes. Some are the beginning of. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.